Hello little people in my computer. Today we're going to be taking a look at some AI sheet music. We're going to go over the fundamentals of music theory, generally following the AP Classroom Unit 1, 1.1 to 110. But first, I've got a pile of letters. I asked it for a stack of DMTS for my company, and that's what it gave me. And next, I got some really decent looking logo text, but the music is just so weird. I have no idea. This one looks pretty cool. If you're not looking very close, you're like, yeah, that looks cool. It looks good. Whatever's going on at the bottom, nice gold touch, but the sheet music is not right. Really nice letters, sheet music, all kinds of weird. Gives me some inspiration for some new composition techniques, some future music. Alright, this time I asked for a sheet showing the fundamentals of music. Instead, I got some alien music. It looks pretty good. It's far enough away you can't really tell, but if you look closely at it, nothing really lines up. There's just a bunch of little lines. It looks like alien writing. Okay, and this one's decent. You know, the piano actually looks good in the background there. It's a little bit on the thin side, but the music is just not at all look like music. Here is your alien language study sheet for the fundamentals of music. No idea what any of that says. Pretty creative. And then finally, I got a worksheet with words on it that looks like music. Pitte, half steps, whole steps, scales, chords, half steps, whole steps, and chord steps, which is not a thing. And if you try to read any of that, good luck. Nurbaru, Ilud. Let's get into the real music theory. First, we start off with pitch, the highness and lowness of a note, notated on the staff. I'm pointing out the notes that I'm playing and what notes they are. We have clefs to identify the different notes where they are. I'm just playing a bunch of different random notes up and down. You can see they each have a number that kind of identifies what octave they are in on the keyboard. Piano theory is probably best understood on the piano. Alright, next we'll take a look at some rhythms, starting with the whole note. I got a metronome keeping time here. We got 4 beats per note here. I'm going to cut them in half. We'll get to half notes next. And then we'll cut them in half. We'll get to quarter notes and eighth notes. And eventually some 16th notes. I'm going to have a little attempt here at 32nd notes and kind of calm myself back down to some 16th notes. And then we're going to be doubling. Get to eighth notes. Double again to quarters, and then we'll double them again to half notes with 2 beats, and then double again to whole notes. There are actually some notes that are bigger than whole notes. Those are called breves. What they look like, they're not used very often, but they do exist. They're worth 8 beats. Okay, talk about some clefs. We got the treble clef identifies where G is, bass clef where F is, and the alto clef, my favorite, shows us where middle C is. There are lots of other clefs that are seldomly used. This is the grand staff, shows us where middle C is. You use that on the piano. Now, let's talk about half steps. So, notes that are one key on the piano apart. It could be black and white, or white and white in this case here, between B and C. So we're going up 1 half step at a time. Those are our notes. When we go back down, we call them biflats, unless we're speaking in a specific key, which we'll get to at another point. Right now I'm just introducing some topics. Let's talk about whole steps. Whole step is 2 half steps. This one goes down to a black key and go up to a white key. We're going to make a scale out of all whole steps. Okay, it's called the whole tone scale. So we're skipping 2 keys. We made an interesting, dreamy kind of sounding scale. Now, there are only 2 whole tone scales. They will fit into one of these 2 patterns. All the whole tone scale. You can start on any note. This one starts on C sharp or D flat. So I'm going to go up each whole tone scale, you'll see they either fit into that pattern or this pattern. Alright, next we need to talk about major scales. We're going to do a whole, and then a half, and then a whole, and a half. And that formula will always create a major scale. No matter what note you start on, if you follow that pattern, you'll get a major scale. We can break this down into two tetrachords, or 4-note patterns, with a pattern of whole, half, conjoined with a whole step. So you see here we've got two 4-note patterns joined by a whole step. Whole, half, joined by a whole step, whole, half. So that's our C major scale. We'll move it down here. We're going to start linking these up together. These link up. The beginning of one is the end of the other, and the end of one is the beginning of the other, and so on. So if we look at the end of the C scale, that G tetrachord conjoins with a D tetrachord to make the G scale. C scale, G scale, linked by that G tetrachord. When we go on D, whole, half, conjoined by a whole step, whole, and half. We have an A tetrachord. D and A link up. And we're going to go around in an overall pattern following the circle of fifths. So D goes to A and E link up, E and B link up, B and F sharp link up, F sharp and C sharp link up, C sharp and G sharp link up, G sharp and D sharp link up, D sharp, also known as E flat, goes to B flat, or A sharp, B flat, and then F, and then back to C. So we start on one place, we go all the way around, and we wind up right back where we started, following the whole, half pattern of a tetrachord, joining them together. We can also do this with chords. So we'll talk more about chords in a future lesson, but just kind of follow along here because they're linked up to scales. So if you start in one spot, the chords will lead around the circle of fifths. From C to F, we're going the other way, which is the circle of fourths. Same thing, up a fifth, down a fourth. B, E, A, and D, and G, which leads us back to C. This is where we started, a little bit faster. So this is a circle. You can go around it completely, all the way, back and forth. This is something I do after I tune a piano, just to kind of check, see if all the intervals are lining up where they need to, and how it sounds. Alright, on to our next topic. I'm just going to explore a little bit of some articulations. Now, articulations are the way that a note is expressed. Whether it's a smooth note, whether it's a short note, whether it's detached, connected. And so I'm just going to explore a couple of these, mix and match. Just please enjoy. I'm going to do just some random jamming a little bit. I got a beat going, I got a metronome going. We're going to show some different rhythmic patterns. This will be in a 4 pattern. We're going to do future videos about time signatures and more on chords, but this is about all I could fit into this video without getting too deep into it. That about does it. Please like and subscribe for more, and come back to Durenti's House of Music.